The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Belly Up Sports Super Bowl show. We're going to talk about everything on the Super Bowl, get you guys ready for the Super Bowl and everything coming up there. We've got an amazing one coming to us. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs going against the San Francisco 49ers, the ever-so-hated Kansas City Chiefs, I should throw in. But we've got a lot of people that are putting their money on them. We're going to talk about both these teams, get into the matchup, get into everything about the Super Bowl, and get you guys prepared for it. But before we get in there, first got to bring on the entire panel. We've got everybody here in with us, except for one so far, but I'm going to go ahead and bring in. First, we got Brent Radlinsky. That's how I say your last name, right?
100%.
Awesome. Brent, how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well on this Saturday morning, bright and early here, 7:34 Mountain Standard Time, ready to go.
And Brent's over there with the 1420 podcast. Amazing show over there. But then we've also got Ryan McCarthy from the No Credentials Required podcast. Ryan, how you doing this fine morning before the Super Bowl?
Doing pretty well. I'm staying hydrated with some water. I was up with the birds this morning, getting some blood drawn, but otherwise I'm doing swell.
Awesome. And then, of course, your co-host, Dustin. Dustin, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me on. Thrilled to be here. Got to get a haircut after the show, but other than that, I'm fired up for the game. I got some work to do. Having some people over the house tomorrow.
Yeah. Super Bowl parties are always a fun time, and one man that knows how to party is Jared himself. Jared, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. All the corner booth crew is trying to tune in as well. I was nursing hangover this morning, 7 a.m. workout. Now I'm kind of getting back to health with Gatorade, bone broth, and like post-workout. So I'm happy I was able to make it on time. So we're good to go.
And then the man who says that he's having technical difficulties, but he still made it in anyways. We got Kev. Kev, how you doing this morning?
I'm great. The technical difficulties probably wouldn't have pushed me off too much if I had been up for longer than 15 minutes. Still drinking my morning coffee. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think. Out of all of us, I think Brent might be the earliest time zone right now. He's out in the mountain time
Standard Time. Yeah.
I had to ask him.
The first guys I see is you. It's not a very welcome addition to my morning to see you guys ugly mugs first thing.
Yeah, I feel bad for you. I feel bad that we had to schedule it so early for you.
Oh,
but
we're good. We're good.
I had to ask him what time zone he was because I'm not as familiar with Canada because it doesn't matter as much to the United States in terms of most things. So no, but all jokes aside, we're going to get into the Super Bowl, talk about these two teams. But before we get too far into that, we want to first mention our sponsors for this Super Bowl episode. The first one's being SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing way to get all of your sports, all of your tickets for really any event, whether you're a sports fan or you like to go to concerts like Jared did last night, wherever you might be going. If you want to go to see a comedy show, there's all kinds of events all on SeatGeek. And SeatGeek makes it very easy for you to use both on a mobile and a computer experience. You can go to SeatGeek.com or download their mobile app and make it very easy. They make it easy to find a good deal by their color coding system where you can see a green dot knowing that you found an amazing deal. If you look around and see a yellow or red, you can keep on searching for a better deal. And they make it very easy to find exactly where you're sitting. You can zoom in and see exactly where your seats are at. That's one thing that I absolutely love about SeatGeek over the other ticket purchasing apps. SeatGeek also gives you a complete peace of mind knowing that your tickets are going to be completely secure. So your payment information, all of that is completely secure. On top of the fact that you know 100% that your tickets are going to scan in at the door. And we love SeatGeek so much here at Belly Up that we have given you guys an amazing deal. We partnered up with them where you can go over to SeatGeek.com or go to the SeatGeek app, the mobile app, and use the code BellyUpSports for $20 off. So go check them out, SeatGeek.com, or use the SeatGeek app and use that promo code BellyUpSports for $20 off. SeatGeek is absolutely the best way to get any kind of ticket purchases. The easiest way, one of the top performers in all ticket purchasing apps. So go check them out, SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app. But guys, we've got an amazing Super Bowl coming up to us. Now that we've gotten down to the two teams, we've got the 49ers and the Chiefs. We talked about this on After Dark the other night, where it was kind of funny that it seems like almost the entire season, at least half the season, there was this conspiracy that because of the Super Bowl logo colors, it was going to be the Ravens and the 49ers. And it seemed like that was a for sure thing. It got up to the point where those two teams are ready to roll on to the Super Bowl. And then we have the Chiefs upset the Ravens. And then, of course, there's a twist to the conspiracy now with Taylor Swift, and we won't get too far into that right now. But did any of you guys did any of you guys look towards the beginning of the season, even midway through the season, and predict that either or both these teams would make it to the Super Bowl?
I mean, I thought that the Niners were going to go. I watched them stomp Dallas, stomp Philadelphia. They basically were railroading everybody when they had Debo and Trent Williams in the lineup, best tackle in football. His name escaped me for a second. But with the Chiefs, man, like I remember the game against the Bills where, Patrick Mahomes is crying, saying that was the worst call of all time, that you don't call it like that. And I'm like, oh, man, the Chiefs are really dead this year. This is crazy. Who's going to come out of it? It's got to be Baltimore, right? But then they get that great cold weather advantage up in Kansas City against the Dolphins. Then the Bills forget how to play football for 3.5 quarters. And then the Ravens abandon the fact that they are the best running football team in the league and throw the ball like 1,000 times. So somehow, some way, inconceivably, the Chiefs are back, which still makes no freaking sense to me. That being said, I'm not surprised that they're here. If you said early season.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I feel like the Chiefs are just one of those teams that you just can't ever count out. I've told you that several times here, especially in the postseason. I don't ever put my money against the Chiefs because I know how tough it is whenever you do.
Well, that's just it with the Chiefs. Like even when they only scored 18 or 17 points in the AFC Championship game, you're thinking that there's no way they could win. But then you go, they're the Chiefs. They're going to win. It doesn't matter. They'll find a way to get it done year in, year out. And they're on a 4 or 5 year heater now. And you just go, well, they're still the best team. And the old Ric Flair line, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And nobody's able to figure them out in the playoffs. And it's not surprising they're there. Like Jared was saying, you thought that maybe there was a bit of a glitch in the armor, whatever you want to say. But you look back and go, yeah, no kidding, they're in again, and it's not you don't even shake your head at it. It's just what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, we thought at the beginning of the season maybe your Jets had a good chance with the roster lineups and everything that they were moving around there. It didn't quite turn out to be. They were just a couple of wins away, right?
I would say there were 4 plays into the season, and all hope just died.
just about 4 seconds into the
4 plays in.
Yeah.
4 plays.
And then, of course, I mean, we can jump over to you, Kev. I mean, we're used to, for a lot of us, we're all old enough to remember that your Patriots are the ones with the dynasty. Now seeing another team, I mean, as a Patriots fan, is it refreshing to see a new dynasty on the scene, or are you missing your own dynasty?
No, it's not refreshing. Any fan who says, no, it's nice to see parity. No, it's nice to see these close games. No, it's not. If you're a fan of one of the teams playing, you don't want a close game. We don't have universal health care in this country like Brent does. We cannot have our hearts give out because of a football game. We like blowouts. We like our team being on a run. And yeah, I don't like seeing the Chiefs go on a run. I don't like seeing the media slobbering all over Patrick Mahomes. I liked it more when every Sunday the Patriots were going to go out and win, with some exceptions.
No, I'm right there with you. Like I've always thought the same thing because for you, most of you guys know that I don't really have an NFL team. So for me, it's the Oklahoma Sooners or nothing. So I'm a huge college football fan. I like seeing the close games. I think after the fact, the close games are a lot of excitement. But I would much rather not have the stress of having. Are we actually going to win this game? Are we going to blow it? I would rather just go out there and win 60-0. And then Dustin, I know you're a Seahawks fan, a team that coming in from last season, your Seahawks were a team that I thought had a good chance, but of course, I mean, with teams like the Niners and the Chiefs that are out there, it's pretty tough arena to get into. But either of these two teams were they the team that you were looking at towards the beginning of the season, thinking they were the ones going to get it done?
Well, I'll start off by saying don't put any money on my bets because I predicted Bills Bengals. I actually had my prediction book right next to me here, so I was able to recall that. So don't go with my bets. But the 49ers, obviously being in the NFC West, I'm very familiar with that team. I knew they were going to be a problem right from the start. My Seahawks underperformed, and I'm with you, Kev. The one game, I loved that Seahawks-Denver Super Bowl 10 years ago because it was never in doubt. So that was the most relaxing Super Bowl for me to watch. But the 49ers, I'm not surprised they're here at all. The Chiefs, I was talking on our show about how underperformed their offense just didn't look the same. It didn't have the same je ne sais quoi it had the last few years, and you're thinking, oh, they're going to have a down year. Then Steve Spagnuolo got that defense humming, and that's the reason why the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. It's not as much their offense this time. Yeah.
It really is insane to look at the Kansas City team, and I know Jared hates me every time I bring this up, but it's one of those things where you look at the Chiefs this year, and it was refreshing to see a Chiefs team that wasn't just going out there and putting up 40 points a game and just whooping up everybody and barely beating them by just having a better offense. It was kind of refreshing to see them struggle at times. You had receivers that were dropping the ball, and it made Patrick Mahomes look bad, but a lot of it really fell on his receivers dropping the ball. Even Travis Kelce having a down year, of course, starting off with an injury earlier on in the year, and then that defense being the ones to win it. That's the amazing thing about this Kansas City team that I think has been a lot of fun seeing them get to the all the way to the Super Bowl. And then, of course, for the 49ers, I think all of us can probably agree the 49ers were one of the top favorites, especially looking over the NFC and who was going to come out of there. I think the 49ers were at least top three, if not top two. And for many, they were probably the top dogs in the NFC to make the Super Bowl. And I know Jared won't quite agree with me on saying that, but I think
you're taking shots at me fast 5 minutes. No, I said the Niners were the favorite in the NFC since day one. I wanted my Eagles to go, but I'm like, okay, they're sitting behind San Fran for power, though. That's
no, I'm not trying to take shots. I just assumed that maybe you thought maybe your Eagles. I mean, I did have Eagles number one, and then the Niners number two until that Niners Eagles game.
Listen, my heart wanted it that way, but the problem is it doesn't roll like that. I saw what I saw on tape, man. We were barely winning games against and losing to freaking McCarthy's Jets and Drew Lock and Dustin's Sea Chickens. Like, dude, I was like, I knew this was a bad. Like when the Buccaneers put us out of our misery, I'm like, oh, thank Christ, this is over.
Yeah, I mean, there's been just so many teams really overall. I mean, you look even at I think you can look at teams like the Cowboys. Trying to think of other examples. I think the Eagles are a good example. Teams that they have the talent there, they have everything put in place, and really, I think I could honestly throw the Jets in there too with you, Ryan, because like I think the Jets have so much in place where it looks like they are so close yet so far away, and the Jets, of course,
at least on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
the offense is just on the struggle bus, and they've been in the struggle bus since I'll say 2016.
Well, but if you had Aaron Rodgers in the entire season healthy, do you think that offense looked better?
No, because our offensive line was a revolving door of guys coming in every single week. I think they had 11 different line combinations this year on the offensive line alone. That's not sustainable. That's not sustainable for this kind of league.
Is that if Aaron Rodgers makes it through the season healthy, that's a big if with the Jets offensive line this year. Now, there is some fact behind the idea that a veteran, great quarterback can make an offensive line that's bad look better, and a bad one can make a good line look bad. Look at the Bucs a few years ago. 32nd ranked offensive line in the league with Jameis, partially because he was holding on to the ball, trying to sling it deep. Tom Brady comes in, they add one or two pieces, which is still 20-40% of the line. I get that. But the offensive line suddenly goes to top 10 from 32. So could Aaron Rodgers have kind of calmed some of that down, brought a little stability? Maybe, but also one guy could get through and still destroy his ankle.
Also,
Yeah.
the chop blocking method was never going to work for the Jets.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I do think, I kind of agree. I guess I agree with the line situation there, but I kind of agree with Kev there. I just feel like sometimes I think when you blame the line for guys like Zach Wilson back there trying to run around and make crazy plays.
No, Zach Wilson is his own special kind of stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I mean.
Let's put it that way.
That's exactly what I mean. And is the line going to block as hard for a Zach Wilson as they would for an Aaron Rodgers? They should, but are they? And I think sometimes whether they want to admit to it or not.
I'll point to the one game that they didn't. That was Week 11 last year against the Patriots when they lost 10-3 on that walk-off punt return.
Yeah,
and they barely did anything. The 2 yards in the second half against the Patriots. And that line could not protect Zach Wilson.
Yeah, and I bring up your Jets not to really pick on you or anything because I really thought.
Oh no, please do.
No, I mean I just think like you look at even the Jets and I feel like there was just a few pieces missing even from a team that was so far away to make them so much closer. And then you look around at other teams. I think the Buccaneers are another team where if they just had if they would have figured it out sooner. Then just imagining how much tougher they would have been. And I think with better play calling, you have the Lions winning in that game against the Niners. So I mean, there's just so much where you look at this season, and I will say, Kevin, from the outside looking in, as a fan of the NFL, but not a specific team, the parity is amazing from the outside looking in. I do think that the parity makes it a lot more fun. As a fan of a team, though, I agree with you. Like that, you don't want parity.
I think also, though, once you give up on your team for a season, the parody does become fun because then we go to your situation and you're an outside fan looking in. I gave up on the Patriots week 4. I was like, you know what? No, this isn't it. I hate this. Clean house. Get rid of everyone. Save Mac Jones.
Welcome to my world, Ken.
Right, but Ryan,
that's me every season.
You still
do you still watch though? Like if your team is no good, do you even bother tuning in? Because you only got to watch 17 games. Like if it's a baseball season, your team stinks. You might come May 1st, you might say, that's enough. But with football, it's only 17 games. Do you say that's it? I'm not even watching this, or do you tune into a different game? Like what's your watching technique then?
Red zone.
Yeah, for me, it's on, and I don't have anything else to do. Yeah, I'll still watch. I'll put them on. Maybe I'll be doing something else in the background. If anything that I think will even be slightly more enjoyable comes up, and at this point, slightly more enjoyable is spending a weekend in Guantanamo Bay than watching the Patriots this year. I'll do that. That will be my weekend activity.
Mine turned into illegally streaming because of area code rights, right? Being in New England. As a resident, illegally streaming Red Zone and playing Xbox on my main TV. My side TV had Red Zone until my birds came out because I'm like, I'm not watching the Patriots or the Jets right now. It's just pure torture.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, what's crazy too is, I mean, like I mentioned myself, not having a team, all of us having teams that aren't even in the Super Bowl. That happens just about every year. There's so many people that still watch and tune into the Super Bowl, whether their team is in the Super Bowl or not. I wanted to kind of start off with you guys, and I guess this is kind of unfair for Kevin because he has so many to reflect on. So I'm going to start off with favorite Super Bowl memories, kind of a personal memory that you have, whether it be going to a party, going to a specific a venue or anything like that. Kev, we'll kind of start off with you since you probably have so many more than us. What's your favorite Super Bowl memory?
A lot of Patriots fans will probably go to the Adam Vinatieri kick in 2001. I was 5. I don't remember that. The Malcolm Butler interception. I'm going to go to Super Bowl 51 against Atlanta to a play I didn't even see. Patriots were down that entire game. I step outside. I was still in college. And then while I'm outside, one of my buddies who's also a Patriots fan comes out like, hey, the Patriots just scored. You know what that means, right? I'm like, yeah, it means I got to stay out here in the fucking rain. And so I spent the entire second half standing outside in the rain, getting score updates from my friend. Luckily, I was in Alabama, so it wasn't snowing. But yeah, so my favorite Super Bowl memory is just not watching the entire second half of Super Bowl 51. And I contributed to that win. I should have gotten a ring.
You should have gotten a ring and the MVP award. No, I mean
Yeah.
it's funny that you bring that one up because oddly enough, for me, that is probably my favorite Super Bowl memory. I can remember I was living in Ohio at the time. I had a friend who was a Falcons fan, so I was like, yeah, let's go over and watch it with him. Another buddy of mine was a Patriots fan. So, from an outside fan looking in, obviously I'm not going to be cheering for Tom Brady to get another Super Bowl. I'm going to be rooting for the underdog. Come on, Atlanta. But then whenever you saw, the Patriots become the underdog, it came kind of hard to not root for them because you see them fire back. You see Tom Brady rally his team around him and bounce back from just an incredible deficit. So it's funny that you bring that one up. And I guess, obviously, I think that should be one for a Patriots fan to bring up the moment when they came back in the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history. But for me, it was just a lot of fun because I can remember being down in my buddy's basement watching it with these two guys that are just fighting back and forth with each other, just butting heads, and one's cheering while the other one's walking out of the room getting ticked off and just all kinds of stuff. So for me, that's probably my favorite Super Bowl memory too. But I guess, Jared, let's go over to you. Favorite Super Bowl memory.
Gee, I wonder which game I'm going to pick.
All right, I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
You want to go to Super Bowl 57?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, James Bradbury. No, I'm just kidding. Listen, the AJ Brown catch was pretty cool, but I will say this. I think my favorite moment was it's so funny. Like Kevin, I had stepped away to go grab a beer, and that's when the strip sack happened by Brandon Graham. And I run back in, and I see Derek Barnett's dumbass falling on the ball. My favorite memory though was the Zach Ertz touchdown, because that's when it became I saw him go out in motion one-on-one. I was like, I know exactly where this ball is going. There's no doubt in my mind this is a quick slant to Zach Ertz, and I'm like, either we're gonna score here or it's a turnover on downs, and we're fucked. And then he scores, and I'm like, oh my God, this is real. This is happening. We actually have a shot. What the hell? So the Zach Ertz touchdown is probably the moment I realized, oh my God, we could do this. So,
all right,
and then they made the Jesse James reference where the ball pops out, and I'm like, oh God, don't do this to me right now.
Don't you dare jinx us. Don't bring anything up from the past. That's kind of how my dad and my brother, being Nebraska fans, that's how they always feel whenever they bring up the how many times they've blown a really close lead. They bring that up on the screen, and then they both walk out of the room like, well, the game's over. I'm walking out. But Dustin, let's kick it over to you. What's your favorite Super Bowl memory?
Well, mine has to be, Seahawks versus the Broncos, and I'm a masochist. To get to the earlier point, even when the Seahawks are bad, I'll watch all of them, especially the national games, because I have Red Zone on all the time. But when the Seahawks actually are on, I will watch the full game, with the exception of the Ravens game. I turned that off. And then even the network switched from that game. So that was terrible. But my favorite memory is Broncos versus the Seahawks. And I was nervous. I was nervous because I still remembered Super Bowl XL. I hated Super Bowl XL. And so I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, this feels weird. I am nervous. And she goes, look, my mom knew nothing about football. But she goes, look, I saw Peyton Manning during an interview. He looked nervous. She's like, the Seahawks are going to win. And I'm like, okay. And boy, was she right. So that's my favorite memory, because then I got to watch that game and relax. But my mom called it. So she calmed my nerves there.
I love it. McCarthy, let's go over to you. Favorite Super Bowl memory?
Well, since I wasn't even a twinkle in my daddy's eye when the Jets won the Super Bowl back in 1969, I can't really say anything about the Jets in Super Bowl memory. But I will say I'm probably the oldest of our group, because the three guys up top weren't even born when this happened. So I'm going to say Super Bowl 21, when the Giants beat up on the Broncos. And I'm not saying this to beat up on the Broncos fans because Dustin did, but it was the first Super Bowl when I was really into the game, because I had an older brother who was a Giants fan, still a Giants fan, and my mom was a Giants fan. She rooted for all the New York teams, including Buffalo, when we moved up here to New York back in '85. So So Super Bowl 21 for me was the one I really got into because I got into it with my friends at school, and we all made little tiny bets, like 25-cent bets, like on who would win the game, and we were all rooting for, some of us rooting for the Giants, some of us rooting for the Broncos, but that one just, out in sunny Pasadena, California, one of the few times we saw the game in the we watched the game when it was in the Rose Bowl. It was still. It's still a great venue. I hope they bring the Super Bowl back to the Rose Bowl someday, because it's just a beautiful venue. But I think that's my favorite memory, just because I was for the first time as a 9-year-old got really into football, and that game really kind of catapulted my fandom. And as a football fan, period, not just a New York Jets fan.
Yeah, I've got a lot of memories like that too. I think for me, being brought into the NFL I was pretty young when we moved to Indiana, and I didn't watch probably more than 2 NFL games my entire life when we moved out there when I was young, just because there wasn't a whole lot, around the Sioux City, Iowa area for football. You might be a Kansas City fan, you might be a Minnesota fan, but outside of that, back then there really wasn't a whole lot with NFL around this area. And so moving out there where everyone was really if you were a football fan, you were a fan of the Indianapolis Colts. And so I think that was quite a bit of fun for me. I can remember a lot of times like that where I guess kind of finding my love for the NFL, finding some sort of fandom there, being able to at least root for the game, maybe not necessarily a specific team. But Brent, do you have an NFL team?
I'll hold that for later on in the show, but we'll talk about that.
All right.
I'm a Niners guy, but but anyways, I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's my first. It must be one of these old guy things like you, Ryan. We're talking about the old times a little bit more than anything. But my first Super Bowl memory was back in 1986. I was 12 years old, so that kind of dates me a little bit. But I remember it was the Chicago Bears, the Super Bowl Shuffle, Jim McMahon, Walter Payton, and the great big bugger by the name of William Refrigerator Perry getting the ball. I think it was 37-3. The Bears were up on New England, and they and they gave the ball to the fridge, and he rumbled her into the end zone for a touchdown, spiked the ball the whole bit, and that kind of got me hooked on football a lot. And I was kind of like you, Josh, up here, like I don't even know if we had cable TV back then was the thing, so we didn't get all the games back. We had the 3 Canadian channels, and that was it. And then they played the Super Bowl on CTV, so we didn't get all the games. So the Super Bowl was on, and that's my first Super Bowl memory for sure. But my favorite might be the Green Bay Packers. I was in Orlando, Florida, and the Packers when they won in '97, Desmond Howard and the kickoff return, 97 yards. So those two I remember vividly for some reason. We had the fridge and the Super Bowl Shuffle and how they kind of grasped the nation back then and the world with how that was going on. So that's probably that might be my favorite actually, to get introduced to the game of football a little bit.
Yeah,
I will say this: it was a damn shame that Walter Payton did not score in that game.
I agree.
Damn shame.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you've got a legendary player and one of the really the biggest game, it's always. I feel like there's been several times where it just feels like they purposefully give that a guy that they know. For example, I mean, I feel like in tomorrow's Super Bowl, it would be really unlikely that the 49ers wouldn't make sure that Christian McCaffrey had a chance, or that the Chiefs wouldn't make sure that Travis Kelce didn't have a chance. And so, it's always kind of looking back and seeing some of these big time guys that, man, like they didn't even really have a chance to get into the end zone.
Well, if you've ever watched the '85 Bears 30 for 30 documentary, which is one of my favorite documentaries, because I remember that team very, very well. The explanation for Walter Payton not getting in the end zone is because they said, New England was stacking the box. They were stacking the box. They were ready. They wanted Walter to get the ball. They were stopping him all game, and it wasn't really an option for us to keep going to Walter, keep going to that well. And here we are. Yet our defense scored a couple times, and Jim McMahon scored a couple rushing touchdowns, and William Perry gets a touchdown. And at the end of the game, you wanted to see Walter Payton win, get at least a chance to score a touchdown, but unfortunately time ran out, and the rest is history, unfortunately. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's jump over to Super Bowl favorite moments. So specifically a moment in a specific game. I know some of us had kind of brought up something similar to that already, but do you guys have any favorite moments from a Super Bowl? Jared, I guess we can start off with you on this one.
I don't want to keep picking on my own game, so I'm not going to. One of my favorite moments was Devin Hester's kick return and Percy Harvin's kick return. Like, they were just like electric factory. Like, I remember it was the first play. I wasn't really like baseball was my sport when I was a little kid. So the first Super Bowl I watched like intently was Raiders Bucks. And then like I watched here and there. It would be like my secondary thing while I was watching it, playing Xbox on the second TV with my buddies. And so the first time I remember I dropped my controller, I look over, I just see Devin Hester flying up the sideline like a rocket. I'm like, oh my God, this is the first damn play. This is how it's gonna go. And then that was it for the Bears. But it was a really cool memory to see because I remember watching Hester in college. Like my first college game I ever watched was he was at Miami, and I was like, who the hell is this guy running at Mach 1? But that was really cool to see was Devin Hester's kick return against the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. And another guy jumps in with us here a little bit late, but we're going to excuse his tardiness. We got Chet from Sports Scramble Podcast. Chet, how are we doing, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on. No beer exploded before I joined on today, like before Belly Up After Dark on Thursday. No beer, just coffee this morning. It's all good.
Spilled some coffee on yourself?
Come on, nobody's getting
no
after
coffee.
it.
We're good.
I will say if you spill coffee on yourself, you don't smell as bad as if you spill beer on yourself. So
Yeah, and you don't
at
have
least
to
that doesn't
sit.
smell so bad.
You don't have to sit for an hour and a half show with beer in your lap too. So it's all good.
All right.
But I see y'all talking about favorite Super Bowl moments.
Yeah.
Just left one in the chat. The Tracy Porter pick six for the Saints. Obviously, a Saints fan. Only been to one Super Bowl, but I actually didn't see that play. I walked outside, as I've heard many of y'all have said during the big games. Went across. I was at a neighbor's house for a watch party. Went across the street to my house, and I'm walking back, and I just hear the entire neighborhood erupt. And I'm like, "What's going on?" And people are running in the street celebrating because at that point we had won the game, right? So I run inside, I catch the replay of Tracy Porter taking it to the house. So that's my favorite Super Bowl memory that I didn't actually get to see it happen. So
Yeah. It's. I feel like the ones like that where it's just kind of like a shock, like out of nowhere. The ones that you keep in your memory bank a little longer. Brent, do you have a favorite Super Bowl moment?
David Tyree's helmet catch is one for me a little bit. It's one of those ones. Nobody likes the Patriots. Let's not. You're not putting sugarcoat in this crap on a Saturday morning, and to see them lose the way that play unfolded with Manning scrambling and getting out of trouble there, and just basically heaving it up, and Tyree coming down with that ball. I think that there was a collective cheer around the world when that happened. You could see the Patriots actually going down in that one. So that's one of my favorite moments of all time, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny too because I don't think Kevin would disagree with you. No, I mean hardly anybody. I mean, unless you're a Patriots fan, obviously, everyone does kind of hate the Patriots. But I feel like that hatred's starting to go away. I feel like it's shifting over towards.
Good to have someone to cheer against. So, like we talked earlier about having these dynasty teams. So when everybody nothing brings two people together like the hatred of a third. Right. So that's kind of what that turned out to be. And like, you got to have a villain. That's why wrestling is so popular. It's just one of those things. Yeah, absolutely. McCarthy, let's jump over to you, man. Favorite Super Bowl moment?
I would have to say there's a lot of them because I'm like I said, I'm one of the old guys of the group here, representing the
Don't look
40s.
a day over 30.
Oh, thank you. I'll take that compliment. I think Derek Brooks sealing the deal in the first Tampa Bay Super Bowl win. That defense. I mean, I'm a Parcells guy. Full disclosure, everything to me is built either on the offensive line or defensive line, and that Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense was just so dominant in that era. And the fact that Derek Brooks, I believe he's a Hall of Famer. If he's not, that's some injustice right there. But Derek Brooks, one of the great linebackers in the modern era, sealing the deal in the Super Bowl in 2003 against the Oakland Raiders, who were vaunted as the clear favorite because of their offense and how their offense worked with Rich Gannon and all those players they had. And for the Tampa Bay to just absolutely just destroy them in that game. I think they scored 21 points on defense. If I remember correctly, too, Dexter Jackson was the Super Bowl MVP because I believe he had 2 pick sixes in that game or 2 interceptions. But Derek Brooks stealing the deal in San Diego on the last play of the game with a pick six. It's a pretty good. It's a pretty cool moment. I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Kev, did we go with you yet on his favorite Super
We did
Bowl moment?
not.
All right, let's go with you.
Can I say the Super Bowl 38 halftime show? Is that an option?
Sure. I mean, it's a Super Bowl moment.
No. So Jared didn't want to pick the Eagles again to talk about. Well, everyone's going to talk about how much the Patriots suck. So I'm going to talk about before everyone hated the Patriots. 2001 Super Bowl when Adam Vinatieri hit the game-winning kick to win the underdog Patriots their first Super Bowl. The Patriots, who were the laughingstock of the league, they had made 2 Super Bowls and completely blew it. Got blown out by the Bears we talked about. Drew Bledsoe throwing 4 interceptions in the Super Bowl in 96. It started a shift in the NFL towards the Patriot dominance that people hated them for. But without that kick, Drew Bledsoe was probably the starter the next season. Was Tom Brady going to go elsewhere? Was he going to be a backup? Was he going to become an insurance adjuster in Ann Arbor like his initial plan? And also, I think it's just kind of poetic justice. 5 months removed from 9/11, a team called the New England Patriots won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome moment too, and especially whenever you can back up to a time when it feels like the dynasty's starting for your own team. But Dustin, how about you, man? Oh,
I was gonna say I would argue that Tom Brady's contingency plan was to be the catcher for the Montreal Expos because he was drafted by them in '95.
that was his ultimate dream.
I think he made the right choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, considering things have
turned out okay for old Tom. There's no getting around that.
Considering he's revered as the greatest of all time, it's pretty hard to say that you made the wrong choice. But Dustin, let's go over to you, man. Favorite Super Bowl moment?
All right. Well, I got to pick one quick from the Seahawks Super Bowl win, and it's when the Broncos snapped the ball into the end zone on the opening offensive possession. But I will go back to a game that's been popular on this panel. The other Super Bowl that jumped out in my memory, and it's probably because of where I was watching it. I was watching it in college with a bunch of my roommates. That Bucks Raiders Super Bowl, and for me, it was just surprising because that was the year that the Raiders and the Bucks made that trade to bring John Gruden over as coach, and I'll still, to this day, never understand why Bill Callahan clearly didn't make any changes. Because if you go back and watch some stuff about that game, the Bucks were like, we knew all the offensive plays before they even ran them. We were calling out their defense. We were calling out their offensive plays before the ball was snapped. That's why their defense was so dominant. Bill Callahan didn't change anything about Gruden's offensive system and just rolled with the plan. I don't know if it's because he wanted to keep Rich Gannon comfortable, but that was a Super Bowl drubbing that I remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Chet, I know you kind of threw in a memory. Do you have a moment as well a favorite Super Bowl moment?
I would have to say the Julian Edelman tip ball and the Patriots come back against the Falcons. I'm looking at it right now on NFL's 100 greatest plays is ranked number 22. So, I mean, it's just that actual play, I would say, be the one that sticks out in my mind as like favorite moment. Remember where I was when I was watching it. Of course, as a Saints fan, I hate the Falcons, but I didn't really want to see the Patriots win. But then the whole 28-3 has just become a good jab that us Saints fans can take at the Falcons. So that play being a part of that game and just the catch itself is insane. So the Julian Edelman catch.
I definitely think that one's up there, just because it was such an incredible catch and so unlikely too.
Right.
And Kev had to step out of the room just so he couldn't see that play too. So I had to catch the replay of it later on. But I mean, for me, I'll back up. Let's see. I think it would have been 2009 Super Bowl whenever the Steelers and the Cardinals were going against each other. Because, like I said, it wasn't until maybe 2007 when I first started actually getting into the NFL and getting into watching the Super Bowl on Super Bowl Sunday. That wasn't really a celebration for us until we moved there around a bunch of NFL fans. And so that Steelers Cardinals game for me, I just started youth football maybe a year or two before that. And I was primarily a wide receiver. So my favorite moment was watching Santonio Holmes catch that catch with 30 some seconds left on the clock to be able to seal the deal and beat the Cardinals. I think for me, that was just a special moment being a young wide receiver. Being able to see that, man, a wide receiver can have a lot more of an impact than just going out there and, maybe making a couple of key blocks on the outside. And you don't really realize, like, man, you can actually do something. And of course, I played several other positions later on down the road, but that was a moment, I think, that sparked a new game for my brother and I. We would always go out there. We always played football on the road because that was a safe place to do it, right underneath the street light on the road, right? And so we would sit there and pass the football right out to the edge of the grass, and you had to keep your toes in bounds. And it was kind of that moment that kind of sparked that game for us, and kind of sparked a little bit more of an interest in my own position. And so for me, that was definitely a big one. But let's go ahead and jump to, since we're going through the Super Bowls of the past, let's jump to the current Super Bowl, the one that everyone's actually most excited about, the one that's currently going on, the most current event. Let's start off with the Kansas City Chiefs and talk about their season. Of course, going through their season, not as impressive as we would have expected from a Super Bowl contender, a team that made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Maybe not a season that you would look back on and say that they had so many impressive wins. But let's start off with the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you guys think would have been, and I'll kind of open this up to everybody, what do you think would have been the most impressive win for the Chiefs this season?
None of them.
None of them.
I don't think any of the wins were that impressive, honestly. I mean, yeah, the defense in the wild card game against the Dolphins was phenomenal, but in cold weather against a quarterback who spent time in Hawaii, Alabama, and then Miami, not shocking. Looking back at their schedule and from watching the games, I think if they win the Super Bowl, we're going to look back at this Chiefs season and go, oh yeah, they won that year. Cool. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't think they're going to win. I'm not saying they're not a good team. I don't think they have any impressive or signature wins on their schedule.
Yeah, and I'm glad you threw that in there too, that you're not saying they're not a good team, because I was listening to, of course, it was a Broncos fan saying this, but I was sitting at a restaurant the other night eating dinner, and I heard this Broncos fan talking kind of loud to the waiter over across the room, and he's talking to me. He says, "Oh, the Chiefs, they suck," I'm like, "Oh, they're not even good." Well, I don't think you can be not good. I don't think you can be a team that sucks and still make it to the Super Bowl. I think you can have some flaws and like you said, maybe not have some impressive wins, still make it to the Super Bowl. But I don't think you can be a bad team and make it to the Super Bowl. But everybody else agree with Kevin. There was no impressive wins.
I do have to.
Go ahead.
My fault. I do have to say I totally agree with him, because what I remember most about the Chiefs season is the losses. The Week 1 loss to the Lions, the loss to the Packers. Those are the ones that you remember. I don't remember a lot of the wins this season, and even that the win against the Bills. It was more that the Bills confoundingly went away from their game plan. And for like a quarter, and it just, like I said, the Chiefs, they don't have that many. He is 100% right. They don't have signature wins this year that you can look to. But at the same time, to your point, Josh, it is impressive, the run that they've gone on, and it's been largely based on their defense. And also, you can't argue, even though they had some things work in their favor, to be sure, they won on the road. They played. It wasn't like the years previous where they had the first round bye and they kind of just dominated it, and then they had home field advantage throughout. It wasn't like that this time. They did a lot of this on the road, so it is impressive at the same time. But they don't have any identifying wins where you can point to it and be like, "Oh, that's the one."
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you guys. I think through the regular season, because it's just it's tough looking through and seeing that one that sticks out. But Brad, did you have one?
Well,
not Brad. Brent.
To get to this point without a signature win, should the 49ers and 49ers fans be worried? Because eventually good teams end up having, or great teams have great games. And should this be a warning sign? Like, they've gotten this far without being great, and eventually Mahomes is going to unleash one. They could put up 45, and that's at 6. It happens with really good football teams, and the Chiefs are not just a good football team; they're a great football team over the years. And if they've gotten this far just by being adequate, well, look out! You never know what could happen on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up. You never, you never want to face the team that hasn't played their best yet, and that's
still got there.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing. But Jared, I kind of saw you kind of shaking your head. Did you agree or disagree with Kev?
Well, one thing, and Dustin kind of led me into this almost. They have the whole playoff run is interesting. And Dustin, I think, brought this up, and so did Kevin, that they beat a bunch of teams that, and I'm going to say this, the Chiefs, that they live rent free in all three of those teams they beat.
Yeah.
It's not like they're playing some team that has no, if they if they played Detroit or they played even though obviously Detroit's the NFC team, they played I don't know, like a team like, so let's go down the list, right? The Dolphins lost them in London. Tyreek Hill, former Chief, right? You go to Buffalo, the coin flip game. I don't think there's any more explanation than that. And then the overtime and everything else, right? And then you go to Baltimore, who is yearning to prove they are a number one team. All the pressure's on them to put the Chiefs away. Chiefs are just following their game plan and handling business. And that's how they beat everybody. And because every team they played was more concerned about what the Chiefs were going to do. I call this the Patriots effect. Because when I was a kid, the Patriots, when you played them, you always worried about what Tom was going to do, what Gronk was going to do, Edelman, Moss, whatever, right? They stopped like being unbeatable when teams started just doing their game plan, a la Eli Manning twice, Nick Foles once. That's the only way you were able to beat them in any kind of big game. So I think the biggest thing that the Chiefs do is their psychological warfare of how they just own real estate in all these teams' foreheads. And now they're in the Super Bowl again because they tried so hard not to screw up, they screwed up. And that's the vibe I got this entire postseason. I'm like, oh, you idiots fucked up again.
Yeah. I mean, it is the kind of the way that their season has gone. But I guess with McCarthy and Chet, do you guys have any takes on that?
I mean, to agree with Jared there, it's the other teams have screwed up and gone away from their game plan, right? Like what you look at the big one, the Ravens. Lamar didn't run around. He didn't take over that game like everybody expected him to do. And the Chiefs just do what they do. They had a game plan. They stuck to it. And I think the Ravens, the Bills, the Dolphins, all in the playoffs, they were worried about containing Mahomes, limiting the big plays, covering Kelsey, and they forgot they had to do stuff on their side of the ball. Yeah, you can throw out the Dolphins game. I mean, they're playing in the snow. Tua's never played good in cold weather. You kind of write that one off. The Bills had a shot there, and the defense stepped up for the Chiefs, and they're leaning more on the defense this year, where in the past it's been the offensive first, big play kind of team. So if you're a 49ers fan, I'd be scared coming into this because they haven't played their best game like everybody's been saying. And as a 49ers team, you have to just stick to your game plan, give it to McCaffrey, let him do his thing, and not worry about what Mahomes and Kelsey and try to limit the big plays over there, and just stick to what you do best. And that's how you beat the Chiefs. Not worry about what they're doing. Do what you do best.
Yeah, and I mean, do you guys think another part of that too is kind of like what you were talking about, both you and Jared, Chet, that do you think that looking at the Chiefs this year, because they're such a different team, we've talked about them being a defensive team. Do you think that maybe that plays a little bit of a part in stopping the Chiefs this year, that people are trying to game plan towards the Chiefs, knowing that the Chiefs, it's not like they're any different, that they can't piece it together on offense whenever they want to, because they have the talent. So maybe they're holding off on offense. Maybe they finally click on offense, and you've got to watch out for that. But then on the other side of it, you're not only game planning against this tough offense, but now you've got a game plan to their incredible defense that's actually been winning games.
Well, I think with how good their defense has been, it allows their offensive play calling to be a little different than what we've seen in the years past. We've seen a lot more rush-heavy Chiefs offense, so they're not worried about, we got to get down the field immediately and score. We can take some time off the clock because we trust our defense is going to get the ball back to them.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, we'll jump over to you because I know we didn't quite get to you. Do you think that there was any impressive wins for the Chiefs this season?
I would have to agree with Kev and with Dustin that there weren't any standout wins, but I will say that the one game that sticks out in my mind the most is a loss, and that was on Christmas Day to the Las Vegas Raiders. They had possessed that ball. They won the possession battle in that game. They had the ball for over 35 minutes in that game, and yet their offense played flat the entire game, and they lost the division rival. They were actually, remember, guys, at one point during the season, I believe it was towards the back end of the season, Kansas City was in jeopardy of losing that division. Denver was right behind them until they collapsed. Las Vegas was on their heels after the Antonio Pierce hiring. So I think that loss taught them a lot about just about how they have to play their game. They got to stick with defense and run the ball a lot. And I mean, the next week they beat Cincinnati, and that clinched the division for them. And they ran the ball effectively, and Pacheco had 130 yards. So to me, the standout game wasn't a win; it was a loss. And I think that game on Christmas Day catapulted them to say, all right, we got to play a different style for the rest of the season if we want to go back, if we want to make it back to the Super Bowl. And they did. They effectively ran the ball in the playoffs, and they also played great defense in the playoffs. So that, in my mind, that's the game that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, and I think I agree with especially with Kev kind of kicking it off, not really having a specific game that was a significant win. But I will say, going into the postseason, when you watch them against the Ravens, going into halftime, 17 to 7 at halftime, and then seeing that defense stand tall, only allow 3 points against a very tough Ravens offense. Again, we talk about Lamar. I do think Lamar was a big part of that. I feel like I don't know if it was Lamar's fault or if it was just an offensive scheme that they were telling him not to run, but there were so many opportunities where he should have just at least get 3 to 5 yards if that's all you can get, where he didn't. And then, of course, I think the Ravens also shot themselves in the foot. Things like Zay Flowers getting the taunting called on him, and then a fumble later on in that same drive. So I definitely think there's some things that the Ravens kind of shot themselves in the foot on, but ultimately I do think that was, to me, the most significant win, mainly just looking at that defense standing as tall as they did in the second half and shutting them down the way that they did, because it really felt like, as much as the Ravens didn't feel like they were being themselves, it felt like they couldn't find a way past that Chiefs defense to me. And so that was the only win that I can really look at and kind of pull out, but of course not being in the regular season. But jumping over to the 49ers, do you guys see a 49ers win? Because to me, I was looking through their schedule. I see several that I think could be that significant win. But do you guys have a significant win for the 49ers throughout the regular season?
Well, they had that 3-game losing skid that people forget about a little bit, right? And then they said all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, geez, what's going on here? We just lost 3 in a row," and then they come back at Jacksonville. Of course, they're going to blow them out, but that's just one of those things. But then coming back and then handling Philadelphia the way they did, I think that was their biggest, because everybody was anointing Philadelphia as the next coming of the Chiefs, I guess, and how it was going on there. And that big win kind of said, okay, you just go away, Philadelphia, and we'll take care of business the rest of the way. So I think that might have been the one that said, we're still the 49ers. We're a really good football team, and get back on track and just let things roll a little bit. So that was the one for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I didn't want to bring it up for Jared's sake, but that does feel
He's shaking his head already.
No, it's your wording, Brent. That's why I was like, really? You're just a little salty about last year's NFC title game?
I did think, with that win, not only was that a huge win for the 49ers, and I think it showed how tough they can be, but it also, I mean, it sucked to see it for the Eagles, but it seemed like that's what kind of put them into the downward spiral that they started off onto. And so I definitely think that was a big win for them, and kind of both sides, where it felt like that was a gut punch to the Eagles, and it felt like that might have been the start to something bad for them, which puts another team kind of a little bit further out of contention for you, which I think was a double win for the 49ers. But I mean, that was the big one that I saw for sure, was that 49ers Eagles game. I didn't know if you guys had any other games to bring up outside of that one.
I thought the Jacksonville game.
Jacksonville. Okay.
Yeah. They got back on track after that.
I was gonna say Dallas Cowboys because that was in the middle of Dak's MVP coronation, and they just kicked snot out of them. And it was like, at least with the Philadelphia game, that was personal. You knew that was gonna get ugly, but like the Dallas one, they own Dallas and they own real estate in Jerry World, and Dak was the MVP favorite at that point, I think, in Vegas, and they kicked the hell out of him. So I think that one was, I think, for like culture wise, the bigger one. Eagles was just personal.
Yeah, well, and I think looking at the Dallas game, I think if you want to take a significant loss, I think the loss to the Ravens kind of it was very similar to like what was it you, Ryan, that brought up the Raiders Chiefs game? Just the mentality change that has to be made right now, because we just now lost, and we lost really bad, and we're supposed to be a top contender. And so I think if you want to look at a game that had significance, maybe even a loss that kind of turned their season around, I think that would have been one. But
yeah. And the reason why I brought up Jacksonville is because it came right after a bye week, and it couldn't have come at a better time for the 49ers, because 3 weeks prior they go to Cleveland in a winnable game, and that was the game that just come off of beating the hell out of Dallas by 32, and Cleveland, they go into Cleveland. It's a game you expect them to win, and they lose after a last second field goal. Then they go to Minnesota. You're supposed to win that game. You wind up losing by 5. Then you go back home to Cincinnati. You're licking your wounds at that point, and you get blown out by a Bengals team who we thought was going to turn it around. Unfortunately, look how that turned out. Then they get the bye week. Make the trade with Washington. Let's put it this way: they fleeced Washington out of the Chase Young pick. All right, the Chase Young trade. They come back the next week. They go travel to Jacksonville. You figure it's a West Coast team having to change their schedule, change the time zone change, play an East Coast team, and they go out and they absolutely just smash the Jaguars at home, and it kicked off a series of wins. They run the table the rest of the year. They beat Tampa. They beat Seattle twice. Sorry, Dustin. They beat Philadelphia in between. Then they beat Arizona. And at that point, they just cruise control. And then they meet Baltimore on Christmas night and get stomped at home by them. But still, I think that Jacksonville win kind of set things off, because they had the bye week. They had a week to get Chase Young comfortable. They had a week to figure stuff out. They go out and they just stomp a mud hole in the Jaguars, and that just kind of set. I think that was the most notable win in my mind for the 49ers.
Yeah, when you first brought that up, I didn't have the timeline in my mind, and I had to pull it up and kind of check out where was that one at. But yeah, you bring up an excellent point with that one, because like Brent brought up, was that with that 3-loss stint, I mean that you don't know how much of a gut punch that is going through there until you've been there, and going through that, man, like we're the favorites. We're supposed to be the guys that can win it all this season. We want to go and prove it to Philly that we can win it all. And now we're going through this. This is devastating at this point in the season. And then coming out and finally being able to make some changes, take a bye week off, and just get yourself mentally and physically prepared for the next game, and then go out there and just lay a hammer to Jacksonville the way that they did and own that game. You bring up a really good point with that one. I like that game a lot.
A 3-game skid in a football season's long.
It is.
You think about like a 3-game losing skid in baseball, you got 162, or in a hockey season, you got 82. Well, we lost 3 in a row. Football, all of a sudden you're at 3. It can go to 4 and 5 and 6 pretty quick. For them to bounce back the way they did, I think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was like looking at the San Jose Sharks in the beginning of their season. What was it, like 12 losses in a row?
That was a rough start.
Yeah,
the Oilers as well.
Consecutive 10-goal games surrendered.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a horrible start. But like, if you look, of course, I don't think the San Jose Sharks were ever going to turn it around. I never did think that would be the case. But you could be one of those teams, or even looking back at the Florida Panthers last year and what they did in hockey. I mean, they were not really a playoff contender, and they weren't going to make the playoffs and then fight their way through. You can do that in other sports, but like you said, I mean, in football, 3 losses. It is a devastating blow, especially at that point in the season, really close to midway point in the season, where you want to feel like you got everything rolling. You're a well-oiled machine. But did you guys have any other games that were kind of a big win for the 49ers?
Well, I'll say that I have to agree the Eagles game was the signature game in the regular season for me because of the trash talking that was going back and forth between the two teams. You could tell, the 49ers were incredibly motivated to right the wrong, quote unquote, from last year. But there's another game for me in the postseason that was the signature win for the 49ers, because the narrative for the 49ers for a lot of the season is they can't play from behind. They don't know how to play from behind because they're so used to having big leads that if a team jumps on them, they don't know how to respond. Well, they've proven now, especially with the Green Bay win, that was a big one for me because the 49ers were getting the Packers gave them all they could handle, and the 49ers had to come back to win that game. And that's the kind of game that you want. And I think it was the start of their playoff run. So, you need those kind of games heading into, if you're going to make a run to the Super Bowl, you need a signature win like that. So to me, even though it wasn't in the regular season, the Packers win was extremely important to the 49ers.
Yeah. I mean, and then the fact that they've come from behind in both that game and the Lions game, just incredible ways to win.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions, I put more on Dan Campbell. Stop going for it on fourth down at the most inopportune times.
And I can totally understand the defense for Dan Campbell that, well, this is just what he's done all season long, but you have to know your moments.
Yes.
You have to know that this isn't a moment where you're gutsy and you're trying to win a regular season game. This is all or nothing. And so you have to know that moment, and you have to know better than to try to run for it. And to me, I don't think there's much of an excuse. I totally agree with you. I think he kind of hurt them in a lot of ways. And then, of course, I think missed tackles was terrible for the Lions. They just couldn't tackle anybody to save their lives. But I guess anything else before we move on from the best or most impressive wins for the Niners?
I don't think
Nothing.
so.
Not a thing. All right, let's go on to the storyline for this game. Of course, we've got the Chiefs, who are 14-6. Again, like we've mentioned several times, not the most impressive season for the Chiefs, especially for the Chiefs. I think for the Chiefs, we would have expected them, if we were to have told you that the Chiefs were going to the Super Bowl in the preseason, then you would have probably predicted that they only had maybe 3 or 4 losses and against very tough teams. Not starting off week 1 with kind of a crappy loss to the Lions, which really turned into dropped passes and pick sixes off of dropped passes and just all kinds of things of that nature. And you wouldn't expect Travis Kelce to have had a down season and Patrick Mahomes to have had a down season. And you wouldn't have expected them to be this way, but they are looking to be the first back-to-back champions in 19 years. I think that's crazy to think that it's been that long since we've seen a back-to-back champion, I guess for a single team. So that's one thing that is absolutely crazy, and be their 3rd Super Bowl in 5 years. This is something very comparable to, the dynasty. I think winning this one sets the mark for they're officially a dynasty. And some people want to say that they're already there. I think this one is officially setting the mark where there is no debate. So just looking at what the Chiefs have going into it, I think that's a lot. And then, of course, it also being a rematch from 4 years ago when Andy Reid won his first with the Chiefs against the Niners. So being a rematch against the Niners, I think that's another storyline to look at and think of how special this could be. I mean, 2 very different teams. I guess one very different team against the Chiefs, who they've changed a little bit. They've definitely got some new guys on the roster, but overall they don't look too much different. The Niners look like a totally different team. You didn't have Brock Purdy, you didn't have Brandon Ayuk, you didn't have Christian McCaffrey, and the list goes on. So seeing that the 2 different teams, I think that the Chiefs looking very similar, the Niners a completely new team, but they haven't forgotten. I think that's still kind of a rematch to say, looking back, and it hasn't been that long ago. And then, of course, another storyline that I look at is just recognizing Shanahan. We brought up the Falcons loss when he was an OC over there for the Falcons, losing to the Patriots when they're up so big. And then, of course, losing to the Chiefs in 2020 after a 20-10 lead when the Chiefs came back in the 4th quarter. So Shanahan has been known to blow these big leads. And I think that's something that is on everybody's mind. But I guess the odd part to me, I guess the surprising part to me is the fact that we've seen a totally different perspective of the 49ers this year, where we just talked about it with you brought it up, Dustin, that they've come from behind in these last 2 games and the playoffs. And so I think this is a really incredible storyline. But anything in, I mean, not just from what I read off, but is there anything in the overall storyline of this game that you guys are looking at that really stands out, something that you're looking forward to most? Maybe a specific rivalry within players or anything like that?
I'm looking forward to the Patrick Mahomes is going to be the GOAT conversation to end. I'm not saying at the end of the day, when he calls it quits, if he plays another 10, 15 years, I'm not saying he's definitely not going to be there in that conversation. He's not in the conversation now. The media is trying to put him there. But I remember back in 2004, when Brady won his 3rd, it wasn't, is Tom Brady approaching Joe Montana? Is he going to get? No, Tom Brady had to win another 2 rings, sacrifice his firstborn, and sell his soul to the devil to then pass Montana. Mahomes is not passing Brady yet. He hasn't passed Montana yet. He hasn't passed. I don't even know if he's passed Peyton yet. I think he's on
Or
the
Elway.
Peyton level.
I think if he wins this one, he is just past Peyton personally.
Yeah, but then he still has
And Eli.
Montana to go, Brady to go. Yeah, he's past Eli. And the media is trying to push
But
it.
not Chad Powers.
Emmanuel Acho tweeted, Patrick Mahomes really went to Buffalo and beat Josh Allen. Then he went to Baltimore and beat Lamar. That single playoff run proves Patrick Mahomes stands alone. There's none like him. He's not like his peers. They are, in fact, not even his peers. Now, there is some debate if he means peers. There is some debate if he means peers as in current NFL players or peers as in quarterbacks as a whole. But quarterbacks go on these runs.
Mm-hmm.
In 2020, Tom Brady beat Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and then Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. He did something similar in 2004 when he beat Peyton, Big Ben, and Donovan McNabb. Now, Donovan McNabb's an odd man out there.
You forgot Taylor Heineke in that run.
It's just Donovan McNabb's cardio. He was gassed. He was throwing up in the huddle.
Yeah,
His
he
cardio
went out
wasn't
drinking
there.
the night before.
Yeah. So he's not in this conversation yet. If you want to say he could be, this will put him on his way. I would agree with that. But to say he already is there is asinine. It's recency bias. And I think it also shows just the Chiefs don't get the same hate the Patriots did. If you want to talk about the cheating that happened after the fact, that's fine. At this point in the Patriots dynasty, that had not occurred yet. Well, it did occur, but nobody knew about it yet.
Allegedly.
So
Depends who the lawyer trying to case.
I don't get why the Patriots were getting all this hate and the Chiefs are like, oh, they're America's darling. Taylor Swift has gotten more hate this season than the Chiefs.
Oh, you said her name. I'm out of here.
Yep. Me too. Bye-bye.
1 hour, 6 minutes. Yeah, there we go.
New record.
No, yeah, I have brought the point
it's
up.
a psyop, Kev. Come on, stop that.
I have brought the point up that he's approaching there. I don't think he's there yet. I totally agree with you. I don't think we can. But when you look at what he's capable of doing, where he's heading, if he does get there, I just don't think. I feel like he's got to win 5 before you actually have the discussion of comparing the two. Because we've talked about that. I know Jared and I have talked about that several times now. That he is very close to getting there, but he's a few years away because he's got to win a couple more after this to actually be compared directly to Tom Brady.
Yeah, I went on a similar rant that Kev did last Tuesday on No Credentials Required. Shameless plug. It's recent. And Kevin's right. It's recency bias. And we've talked about our now sudden hatred for the Chiefs as well during the season. So it's starting to grow. It's starting to grow. And for me, it started in week 4 when the Chiefs got away with several holding penalties towards the end of the Jets game when the Jets had them on their heels. They had them on the ropes. So yeah, that's the recency bias is a little bit. It's a little much. It's a little much.
Yeah, and let me just say, I think Kev's argument is a good one. I can't really see anything to deflate it.
Nice.
I mean, cold weather will deflate anything. That's how science works.
Totally
Everyone except Jim
unintentional
Irsay.
pun. Totally unintentional pun. For the rest of you guys, any favorable storylines leading into this game?
Well, for me, if the Niners don't get it done this time, then when? Like, when are they going to get it done? Because right now you're not paying a quarterback anything that he's going to want to get paid, because that's how the NFL works. That's how quarterbacks work around the league. All of a sudden, the guy who's making $700,000, all of a sudden you're making $40 million, right? So if you don't get it done now, and like when are they going to get it done? Because you only get so many chances, and winning's hard. And if you have if you constantly lose, I mean, we'll take the Denver Broncos out of it compared to like all those Super Bowls they were losing over the years. It's tough. And if they don't get it done this year, injuries, free agency, the parity, and everything else that happens, players leave. They don't stick around forever. So if they don't get it done now, then when? That's kind of one of my storylines. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you definitely have guys like Trent Williams. I don't know how long he's going to be in the league. He's a huge part of their offense that I don't think a lot of people really give him recognition for. And that's not even my bias sticking out that he came from Oklahoma. I'll plug him and bring him back to my school for you there. But and then you've got guys like George Kittle, who again, he's definitely got some years left in him. But how many more? And then Christian McCaffrey, how long is he going to stick around there? Because again, another guy that you're going to have to pay to keep around there. I think you've got a lot. They've got such a star-studded team. You look at just the offense, and it's crazy to think that the least talented player on their entire offense is their quarterback, and that's how talented they are. And I don't think that's taking away from Brock Purdy's ability. I think it's just showing how talented they are. And so then you look over at the defensive side, bringing in Chase Young, that was brought up earlier. And so, you've got Fred Warner and you've got Nick Bosa. You've got such a star-studded team as a whole. It's only a matter of time before that team breaks up, and you're not able to pay all of them what they're asking for.
Stars like getting paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And it's kind of go get your bag, and you if you're capable of doing it, that's kind of where I stand now. I don't like when players chase the money and they're chasing after it, because I'll bring up Tom Brady. The one reason why I think Tom Brady will always be the GOAT is because he didn't go chasing after the bag. He took pay cuts to keep guys on his team. No, I want to make sure this guy, and this guy stay on my team. I want to make sure they get paid so I can win more rings.
Doesn't hurt when your wife's making more than you are.
Yeah. You're the greatest of all time at something. She's not the greatest model of all time. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. She's still getting paid more. How does that work?
Greatest model of all time. Go. No. But I have to agree with the point. If the 49ers don't win it now, then when are they going to do it? That's a big storyline, because I can say, a window closes fast, and all you have to do is go back to the Seahawks. I keep taking it back to the Seahawks, but it's because they're an example of this. After they won that Super Bowl, Golden Tate left. Percy Harvin was gone shortly after. A lot of the coaches left. Gus Bradley, I think he was already coaching. He might have already moved on, but he was already on the Jaguars by that time. Dan Quinn, he would shortly leave to go coach the Falcons and have another defensive collapse. Everybody wants to throw shade at Pete Carroll, and he deserves it for not running the ball. But let's not forget the Seahawks defense collapsed in that game in the second half. But the window closes quickly. You can't keep everybody together. You can't. And sometimes the magic is just gone. You go on these runs, and you go back and look at it, running the play that Pete Carroll did, it split that team up. The defense felt like it divided the locker room. That team chemistry was never the same after that. And the Niners, they've got to win it now, because this feels like the time that they could. The Chiefs, even though you don't want to bet against Patrick Mahomes, all right, he might not be in the conversation for the GOAT. I don't think he is. I agree with what everybody said on this panel, but you don't want to count against him. But this feels like the year that the Niners could do it, because the only place I give the Chiefs the edge is the quarterback position. That's basically it. The Niners have superior talent, in my opinion, and almost everywhere else, everywhere else on the team. You stack them up. I give the edge to Mahomes and maybe Kelsey at tight end, but that's it. The Niners have it everywhere else. They've got to do it now.
Yeah. I totally agree, and I think it's funny too, because you said that the window closes, it closes fast, especially if it's slammed, and it has a chance to be slammed shut by the Chiefs right now. And so that's just something that the Niners do need to take into effect. Hey, we need to win one right now. This is our only opportunity, if you want to look at it that way. Just so that way you're getting yourself prepared for the fact that you may not have another one after this. How many guys have made it there and never been able to win one? It happens. It happens a lot more than you realize. But any other storylines? Yeah, Jared.
So I got this one. It's an interesting one. I was thinking about this before. There's a silver lining win for the NFL fans not being Chiefs or Niners fans if either team loses or either team wins. So with the Chiefs, if they win, this miserable season is over, and we don't have to hear about Taylor Swift after about the next 48 hours.
Oh, you said the name.
Oh, whatever. McCarthy, sue me. Here's the other thing. It also shuts up one of the most arrogant, annoying runs by a team of all time, which is these Niners teams with their stupid fucking boombox. Like it also slams that window shut, right? It opens up the floodgates, because the NFC is not going to be as bad as it was this year. next year. Okay. Dallas will be reloaded. Philly's reloaded. Atlanta's getting better. There's a bunch of teams. Even Chet's Saints are getting
Hey,
better.
don't forget about Derek Carr, man. He said he's coming back better than ever.
My chemical quarterback. Who can forget?
Jeez.
So that being said, I love the fact that all the pressure's on the 49ers. Let's not spin this any other way. They have all of the pressure. Patrick's sitting there like, I'm going to get 3. If not, man, I'll be back in 2 years. The NFL's shoehorning me in for Super Bowls anyway, so why not? And with the Niners, they do God's work by knocking out a dynasty at least for one more year. They shut everyone up. They stop the madness, right? And then you get to not see Brittany Mahomes going, yes, again. No, it's like
spraying champagne on the fans that don't want champagne sprayed on them.
Hopefully Jackson Mahomes gets arrested too. We might get the bingo card this year, fellas.
I thought he was already in jail.
I think he is. I don't know.
That's senior Mahomes. We might get the trifecta where 2 of them at least get arrested.
No.
All right.
Oh, they let him out to see the game. He's not. They let him out to go. To the
Oh my God.
It's all rigged.
I mean, it's crazy the privilege that you get when you have money.
Oh my God. So that's the thing. There's a win for NFL fans, regardless of who wins this game, because now we really get some funny storylines here, and we get some nice silver linings where some things that have been annoying us in this insane NFL season finally ends. We finally got rid of that stupid logo conspiracy. It was the dumbest thing I'd ever seen in my life. Also, I want to give a shout to my co-host, Chris Lipoff, for his Super Bowl memory, which I had to throw this up there. Only my co-host could say something like this on a fucking
Horse manure. Can't drink on an empty stomach.
Oh my God.
If anybody does not know who Chris Lipoff is, go watch the Corner Booth and meet our newest member. This kid is
something else.
He fits the corner booth. He fits the corner booth personality perfectly.
Arguably the greatest intern of all time, at least to the Corner Booth standard. There's nobody who even comes close. Guy was the first intern ever to be promoted mid-season because he's so crazy. But yeah, no, that I think the NFL have to look. NFL fans can't be like, oh, thank God this is over. It's all the good things that come from either side winning is what we have to look at now. That's my favorite part about the Super Bowl.
And Ryan, I never said that we had a ban on Taylor Swift's name, but since you bring it up, I want to kind of go down this list. So you can feel free to take your headphones off and not listen if you want. But does everybody know Taylor Swift's album 13, her favorite number 13? She was born on the 13th, whatever.
The conspiracy continues.
So we've got Super Bowl, what number?
58.
What's 5 plus 8?
13.
Oh, here we
All
go.
right. How many games has Taylor Swift been to? Do you guys know?
13.
I'm going to guess 13.
She's been to 12.
Oh,
This will be the
Be your
13th. So this will be the 13th. She's also traveling from Tokyo. You guys know how long of a flight that is from Tokyo to Las Vegas?
13 hours.
13, yeah.
Just under 13, but pretty close to 13.
Pilot
close
was
to
like
it.
down and
I hate it here.
Do you guys know what?
Hey, Putin, can we ground that flight for an extra hour?
What's the date of the Super Bowl?
February
11th.
2 plus
2
11.
plus 11. Oh, my
2 plus 11.
13.
What seed are the 49ers?
The one.
The 1 seed.
What seed are the Chiefs?
They're the 3.
The 3 seed.
How many points are the 49ers going to beat the Chiefs by? 13.
Well, but who are the Chiefs playing? 49ers. What's 4 plus 9?
Oh my God.
13.
There's so many of them. I was
That's
teasing my
a
wife
lot.
because I was going down to just kind of making jokes about it with her because she brought it up, and then I started going down the list with her and started naming all of them off. I was like, man, there's way more 13s in there than you realize. I think there was a few others that I had too that I can't recall.
Potentially, I saw a video on it. I think it might be Travis Kelce's 13th playoff victory or something like that. There's something with victories in him being 13.
I hope everything goes. You know what, Brent? I'm back on your Niners wagon. I'm rolling deep for the Niners at this point. I can't do this anymore. Fuck this shit.
Sorry, Dustin. I know the 49ers are in your division, but I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for them tomorrow.
I'm rooting for them as well. Spoiler.
I just hate everything about the Chiefs right now.
Well,
and
yeah.
you know that with all of the stuff about Taylor Swift and like how much money she's brought to the NFL, I'm sure she's brought some extra fans to the NFL.
Mhm.
But how on earth do you calculate how much money she's brought to the NFL based on viewership? I don't get that number. It's such bogus. But then
Let me guess, $1.3 billion extra. Come on.
Yeah, probably.
She's
$13 million.
coveting the great 13 to 31 demographic, apparently.
Yeah, she does. I mean, that's probably a pretty accurate age group.
I think it ranges higher.
Out of my ass, and it made sense.
Unintentional. That was totally unintentional.
Ryan, also
Hold the muscle
breaking
back.
news. I have a statistic. You have said $1.3 billion 13 times on No Credentials Required this season.
I've dropped already 13 F-bombs on this show.
I don't understand why people care that much, to be honest with you. Either way, like,
yes.
does a
bottom
bar-
Kev's article was pretty brilliant.
was
This
well
week.
written,
I
Kev.
say
I will
hats
give
off
you
to you,
that.
sir.
Yeah, good
Thank
job.
you. Like, either like the people who care obsessively about it are weird, and the people like, no, this is ruining football. Guys, she's been on the screen for
Yeah.
combined
4 seconds,
5
yeah.
minutes.
13 seconds
Celebrity
per minute.
dated a
13
football player.
seconds.
Nobody fucking cares.
They act like she's on during the run to the end zone too, and that's I just don't get it.
No.
I'm all for it. Travis, hats off to you, man. Props, because you got a bad chick. Good job. You shot your shot and you got it. That's all I got for it. I don't find any kind of conspiracy in it.
Better than seeing
It's also
Britton Mahomes.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Brady
you.
and Jackson up
That went
there.
the
I'd rather
winner
see
right
Taylor
there.
Swift.
Yeah.
It's
And I
also
mean,
insane. The pretty blonde is dating a Midwestern football player is hated in America. What?
Yeah.
Why? What happened?
My
No,
point too here. This is my point too. He's not the first and he's not the last. Like, can we relax? Like,
It's happening.
oh yeah, she had the pink number 9 jersey and she was going Romo. I remember that.
yeah, that was against
that
our
he
birds, and then they
fumbled-
lost.
Yeah, was it
I
the
just-
season
I just
that he
don't-
fumbled that the snap on the
Oh, in
game-winning field goal?
2006? You mean
Yeah.
you mean big play Marquand Manuel, who we love in Seattle for that
Didn't
very
he lose to
reason?
Jeff Garcia like when that happened too? Like Eagles legend Jeff Garcia.
CFL legend Jeff Garcia.
Yeah.
It was all
Calgary
sarcasm,
Peters,
buddy.
there you
No,
go.
that's not-
The Calgary Peters legend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god. Oh,
Yeah, I just think the whole Taylor Swift thing was blown completely out of proportion, and then because it was blown out of proportion by media outlets that had nothing to do with the NFL, then media outlets that did have something to do with the NFL were in on it, and then the people that were frustrated about it just kept it going, and it just kept on going from there. But guys, do we want
Colin
to make?
Cowherd had a great take on that. If you ever watched that one with Cowherd, he talked about like, I used to be a Cowherd guy, and he's kind of fallen off my radar a little bit. But he made a great point about it. Like he's been like Taylor Swift's been on TV for maximum like 24 seconds. Like you guys in podcast world, you know how much time it takes to fill half an hour, let alone X amount of minutes, right? So she's been on TV for 24 seconds at most during the game, and who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? There's other fans that are there too. Back in the day, Jack Nicholson was on TV all the time at Lakers games. What the hell's the difference, right?
Yeah.
I do want to say one thing. Please, 49ers, come on, bumping Kanye in your boombox, please.
I love
One
it.
last thing for your 13, Josh. What's Brock Purdy's number?
Yeah,
Damn
true.
it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
man.
that one you could just say that there's somebody with the number 13.
Chet, you suck, man.
True.
Just
But
about any-
it's the quarterback and the
Yeah,
little storyline.
She dumps Travis Kelce and goes out with Brock Purdy after if the
Yeah, if
Brock
the
Purdy wins the
Niners
Super
wins,
Bowl.
he goes with Purdy.
See, I love the number 13 because that was my sport, my number in sports. So I'm not gonna hate
you're a
on the
Swiftie.
13 being thrown out there.
Or she
That
shows
was
up
a
in
warrior.
an Eagles jersey just to be it was all a psyop against the Chiefs the whole time. It was an undercover job.
No, but
Total heel move. Total heel move.
we're gonna jump over to our picks for the game. These picks are our DraftKings picks. It is brought to you by DraftKings. You can click that link down in the description to go and sign up for DraftKings. Bet $5 when you first sign up and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. You have to double check that it is available in your area, and we ask that you please bet responsibly. We are not responsible for any bets that you may put in. Please bet what you have, not what you don't have. Be very smart with it. And be smart with that $200 bonus bets too, because I know people, and I'm not going to call anybody out by name, that use that $200 bonus bet as just throw it out there because it's house money. It is house money, but it can turn into your own money. So go sign up for DraftKings today. Use that link down in the description. Sign up and bet $5. get $200 in bonus bets instantly. We're going to throw out our picks, and you can take them or leave them. I will say the higher that your parlays get, yes, the number goes up in the winnings, but be smart because it's the odds also go down. You have much less odds to hit those big parlays. So be smart. Unlike the guys over there at Sports Scramble that throw in those crazy parlays.
It makes it fun, Josh. You got to get a little skin in the game. I mean, it's every week. It's like, oh, if this happened, this happened, this happened. Like, guys, it's a 10-leg parlay. When only 3 hit, we weren't close at all. You got to reduce the number.
Or you could be
Quit watching the first quarter. Everything's done already.
Hey, listen,
Yeah.
we should have a co-host who doesn't bet on Russian soccer in the 5 in the damn morning.
Hey, look, you're 3 for 10. That's good in baseball. So.
We're
The
back
advice-
300 there.
The advice that I give to people who are new into sports betting is bet on sports as it's a game of your own that you want to win. You're just trying to win a game, not trying to win money, because once you add the money into it, it becomes a little dangerous. You start to think too much about the winnings of what if rather than let's actually win this thing. But let's start off. If you guys
And bet small, don't bet your damn mortgage, okay?
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
definitely do not do
Still
that.
got to pay rent.
Make sure
Don't
your
end up
bills are
like-
paid before
Don't
you
end
get
up
into
like
it.
Adam Sandler in that movie from a few years ago where he just keeps betting and betting. If you haven't seen that, check it out. And I don't know why the title's escaping me, but that's
Yeah,
like
I can't think of which one that is either.
yeah, he bets on like everything and he owns the jewelry shop. I just can't
Oh,
buy
Uncut
it.
Gems.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Uncut
yeah, there you
Gems.
go. There you
Yeah.
go.
I was just looking
Yeah.
it up. Yep.
Yeah, don't be like him.
Don't be like Adam Sandler in many ways of life. No,
Hey, listen, don't knock the Sandman, all right?
no, I love Adam Sandler.
Right.
If you guys
QB
want to pull up
Halloween was a
DraftKings,
classic.
if you guys want to pull up DraftKings and look through them, you can either pick a prop bet or you can pick just a normal covering the spread. Maybe take a money line, hit the over, hit the under. Each of us will take one pick, and then I will even try to put together a graphic for each of the picks. So I better make sure that I type them all down in my notes here. But Jared, let's start off with you, man. Do you have a best bet?
Well, during Belly Up After Dark, we know I talked about Nick Bosa for an anytime sack was just like stupid high. It was like, I think it was like minus 110. But I'm kind of, it's weird because everyone's talking about, McCaffrey, Pacheco touchdowns. Let's go really off script here. I love a Brandon Ayuk touchdown at plus 175 anytime touchdown. Are you kidding me? That's for a guy who's been Purdy's like go-to guy the past couple weeks. And the fact of the matter is L'Jarius Sneed's going to be sticking to Debo like glue. Let me see Brandon Ayuk anytime touchdown.
Brandon Ayuk anytime touchdown. We're going to throw that one down in there.
Plus 175 right now.
Kev, do you have an anytime bet or a
I
best
do,
bet? Sorry.
but it's a two-parter. It's not a
Two-parter?
parlay, but so you need to put the Travis Kelce anytime touchdown on because Taylor will be there, so that's important. But then also the Noah Gray anytime touchdown because I feel like whenever a lot of people bet on Travis Kelce to score a touchdown, Noah Gray gets one first.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good point. Yes, I mean you kind of have to put one to win the other, is what you're kind of saying.
And I think you'll win both, but I
Yeah.
just think Noah Gray will score first.
Yeah. I mean it's tough whenever you look at it too. I mean, man, you have if you have to pick anytime touchdown scores too. I feel like it's always tricky because you have to think of the team they're going against, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and then there's multiple times where you kind of want to pick several of them because I can think of several of the top guys that just seem like they're going to, and I don't think it's going to be that high scoring of a game. But Brent, do you have a best bet for this?
I
Fine,
saw
Super
one
Bowl.
somewhere. I think I talked about your show tonight, Jared. The how many players throw for a touchdown? They was set at 2.5. I'd take the over on that because I think there's going to be a trick play in there somewhere. Christian McCaffrey's been known to do that kind of a thing, and he's that kind of a player. So over 2.5 for touchdowns. You know what? Even go to 4 with that because you never know what might happen. Low scoring game. Sometimes drastic times calls for drastic measures, and this might be one of those things.
All right, so we've got a guy betting on the amount of passers there will be passing touchdowns.
Yeah, you'll get 2, right? You'll get 2 guaranteed.
Yeah, definitely 2.
Not guaranteed, but
I could totally see that too. I think that's one. I remember you bringing that up over on Corner Booth when I was watching the other night because you guys were talking about that and you brought it up, man. You could see Christian McCaffrey throw. He's a former quarterback. Don't forget that. He's a former quarterback.
He played
so that's
for him in the NFC Championship game last year.
true. he was literally a quarterback last year, but he was a quarterback back in high school a little bit. So don't forget about that. And then, of course, Travis Kelce was also a former quarterback.
Yeah.
So you can't forget that. That's why he's so good at the tight end position. It's because he knows where the quarterback needs to look and where he's going to want to look. And but Dustin, let's jump over to you. You got a best bet that you want to throw in there?
I got one that sticks out to me. And first off, let me say again, don't go with my bets. I chose Eagles Bengals for my Super Bowl. I think I misspoke at the beginning of the show and said Bengals Bills, but that was the AFC Championship game. Eagles Bengals was my Super Bowl pick, so don't follow me. But the bet that looked good to me was first time of possession. I think it was 3 minutes and 15 seconds. You could bet the over or under. I'm taking the under on that because I think both of these teams have the potential to come out and score very quickly. So that looks good. That looks good to me. I think both teams are going to be looking to jump on the other early. So, and both of these teams have the weapons to do it. So take the under on first time of possession, 3:15.
First time of possession under 3:15.
Yep.
Okay. I put touchdown for some reason. Time of possession. All right. I like that one too. Yeah, I think you're gonna have one of these teams. You know, I think they're either going to be a fast-paced to score, or they're going to be fast to get the other team off the field. So I like that one a lot. McCarthy, let's jump over to you. Best bet.
So one of the bets one of the bets I'm looking at right now is for TD scores. There are several contenders for score 2 or more touchdowns, and I see Christian McCaffrey at plus 225 and Travis Kelce at plus 500. So if you're gonna the safest bet would be to go with Christian McCaffrey 2 or more touchdowns at 225. But if you want to be really make some real cash, have some fun, I would parlay the Christian McCaffrey, Travis Kelce 2 or more touchdowns as a. But my best bet is Christian McCaffrey 2 or more touchdowns.
Yeah, I like that one. And I think that just seems like if you've got to pick one guy on the field, that's the guy you're going to pick. If I've got to just about every single week of the NFL, if I was going to put an anytime touchdown scorer, I made sure to throw Christian McCaffrey in there, boost my parlay up a little bit because it was just about bound to happen almost every time. So definitely the guy that if you're going to go an anytime touchdown scorer, but 2+, that's obviously the front runner out of anybody. But
there's also a special bet for the Swifties for Travis Kelce to score an octopus. It's plus 3,000.
I love it.
And the bet is called Blank Space.
That's awesome.
Name me all these after her songs. So sorry,
that's awesome.
Jared.
All right, Chet, what's your best bet for the Super Bowl?
So I've been looking through the DraftKings app trying to cook up something good for the listeners. I like the Brandon Ayuk over 4.5 receptions. It's plus money. It's plus 110. I think Jared said it. Snead's going to be all over Samuel. They're going to be in a battle all night to where Ayuk's going to be that guy that Purdy's looking for. So the past 3 playoff games, he's had 3 receptions. So we'll see if we can get to 5 in the Super Bowl and have him take over the game. Of course, I mentioned it on Belly Up After Dark, the Gatorade bath. The odds have shifted a little bit. Purple is still leading at plus 250. And red's a close second at plus 275. And I feel like the red is too obvious of a pick. If the 49ers win, their color is red. If the Chiefs win, it's red. It's also Taylor Swift and her album named Red. So I'm liking the purple as the favorite at plus 250 there.
Yeah, I like that one. Plus the Super Bowl logo, purple.
Yeah, and last year when the Chiefs won, they had purple Gatorade. Do they go back to back if they win back to back Super Bowls?
Oh, the purple Gatorade is a good luck charm.
Exactly. So
and it takes 13 to 1 in the portion. There you go.
What are the odds on the OG
All right, now you're
lemon
forcing
lime?
it, Josh.
That's a bit of a reach, I heard, but yeah.
I
It
saw
sounded good to me. Okay?
a number bet. They had Christian McCaffrey exactly 23 rushing attempts. The highest he's gotten all season is 22, but the odds are plus 1,000. So if you've got a free bonus bet and you feel lucky, Throw that one on Christian McCaffrey, exactly 23 rushing attempts.
What was the first one? You said Brandon Ayuk was your
over 4.5 receptions.
Okay.
That's the one.
You threw some bonus ones out there too. So all right. Yeah. I mean, so you took Ayuk from me. I liked that one. And then McCarthy took McCaffrey. I almost got it mixed around there. McCaffrey took McCarthy. McCaffrey's putting money on you, Ryan. But no, Ryan took McCaffrey 2+
for over
touchdowns.
under bowls of chili eaten. It's over 1.5 right now. So.
Don't forget about the
slamming
soups
over,
now.
especially if the Chiefs are up by a lot. So
I'm smashing it. I'm smashing the over.
Smashing the over for
Over
beers.
all day.
Tongue.
all right, over under tag along hairballs. I got at least 3.
Oh, so I was looking around trying to find another one since you guys kept on taking all of them from me. I'm gonna take. I like the Super Bowl specials a lot. I was looking through those. There's quite a few of them that I like, but the length of the longest drive at 77.5, I feel like somebody's got to start inside the 20-yard line and score a touchdown on it. So one of these two teams is going to do it, and especially if it comes down to crunch time where you've got to score last-minute touchdown. I feel like one of these guys is one of these teams is gonna have an 80-yard drive, something like that. So I'm gonna hit the over on that 77.5-yard longest drive. That's at -170, so pretty good odds right there. So I like that one. If you don't think it's going to be an 80-yard drive, 78-yard drive, then it's +140. But I just feel like that's, to me, that just seems like it's a sure thing. Like somebody's going to get that 78-yard drive. So I'm going to hit that one on the over. But we've got our best bets. Again, that is presented by DraftKings. You can click that link down in the description and sign up today. You get if you bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets instantly. And again, please bet responsibly. Do not bet your mortgage. Be very responsible with those bets. Must be 21 or older in order to bet, and you also must be in a state where it is legal and where you are allowed to bet. So please follow all the laws. And if you're a sports player, if you play sports, collegiate sports in the state of Iowa, do not bet. All right, don't do it. It's not a good
Zach
idea.
LSU, Kayshawn Booty, I'm talking to you. If you're underage and you make your username Kayshawn Booty 01, do not do that. Any LSU players, if you're listening, do
Play
not
devil's
do that.
advocate. Nobody actually thought he was that dumb to do it.
There's got to be some sort of gambling.
And if your
ring.
name
No
is
way he
Hunter,
bets that much.
if your name is Hunter Decker, I just want you to know you probably are allowed to bet now because you're not allowed back into college football. So go ahead. But like all the scandals breaking out on Iowa sports in general, it was kind of crazy.
Also, if you're an Alabama baseball coach, don't bet.
Yes,
Coach Bo,
yes.
you can. You're banned for life.
Yep. Don't show the cashier, hey, I got good evidence on why I'm betting this person.
And then call the coach to confirm.
Wherever you work, if you're in the workplace, if you're an athlete, ask your coach, ask your boss, ask your boss's boss. Double check that you're allowed to before getting fired for placing a nice friendly little wager on a game.
If you need to ask, you probably know the answer.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. You know who would have loved DraftKings back in the day? Pete Rose. No paper trail.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
He'd still be in the Hall of Fame.
Charlie Hustle 04 is his username. Oh, wait.
I bet he would do that.
Charlie
I bet
Hustle
he
14.
would.
So as it stands right now, let me kind of back out of this. It's moved. The line has moved kind of back and forth pretty much pretty much the entire since the Super Bowl was announced, but especially all week. I feel like it's bounced around a lot. The Niners money line is -120, +100 for the Chiefs. So you're coming out there in a good profit for the Chiefs, and it seems like most of the money has been going towards the Chiefs. The Niners are a 2-point favorite. It's sitting at -2 right now for the spread over on DraftKings. And I guess the over-under, is that one still at 47.5? It is. So that one stayed pretty neutral the entire time. So your points total at 47.5. I'm going to go around the horn. You guys can take your picks, who you think is going to win. If you want to take a spread, go ahead with that. And then if you want to talk points total as well, you can jump around with that one as well. But Brent, we'll start off with you, the resident 49ers fan himself. Who do you got winning?
On this one, I'll bet you 15 times in the last 3 days who's going to win this game. My heart says 49ers, my head says Chiefs, The wife says I don't really have a heart, so I got to go with my head and say that what am I going to do? I think the Chiefs are going to win. I just have trouble betting against because, like we said earlier on, they haven't had a great game yet, and they're here. They're going to go. Great teams have great games. I think they're to be the man, you got to beat the man. No one's beat, and they're going to do it again this year. And Travis Kelce be flapping his gums, saying nobody respected him again, just as he did last year when everybody did respect him, or like whatever it was. It's just I think the Chiefs win. I just have this. I think it's going to be a high scoring game too for some reason. So I think that they're going to come out and score a couple times early. San Francisco won't be able to battle back. It just be one of those things. I think that the Chiefs are going to win like 35-20 kind of a score.
Okay, so you're even thinking over on that points total as well. Okay, I like it. McCarthy, let's jump over to you. Who do you got winning this game?
So I've been thinking about this last week, and I think if the 49ers defense gets their head right, I think this will be a low-scoring affair. This will be similar to, excuse me, I'm hoping it's not Pats Rams from a few years ago when it went up like 13-3, the final score, and more like Giants Bills from Super Bowl 25 when it was 20-19. Both defenses played great. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be that way. I think on going in Brent's direction, I think the score will be higher than the 47.5. So I'm going to, but just barely. As much as I want the 49ers to win, I think the Chiefs will win 28-20.
Okay, so very close on that points total. I like that. If you're picking right on the line, and then of course picking the Chiefs. Let's jump over to you, Dustin. Who do you got winning Super Bowl 58?
Well, I'm going to be the odd man out so far. I said earlier in the show you don't like betting against Patrick Mahomes, and that's still true. But to me, the Niners, I think the difference is their road to the playoffs. They've proven they can come back now. They've proven they can wake up, and I think they just have too much talent. And you take the two defenses. I've been complimentary to Steve Spagnuolo and the job that he's done, but I think the 49ers defense has a little bit of an edge. But I also think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think it's going to be close. I'm going 30-27, field goal difference, Niners over Chiefs.
I like it. The first guy to pick the Niners to win so far. Are we going to keep that continuing, Jared? Or are you going to?
I've been flip-flopping on this all week in my head. I picked the Niners on my show, but like I do that for T-Bob appearances and to stay loyal to these guys over here. But that being said, I really do think that this game is going to come down to Mahomes having to get out of the pocket, and a bang call is either going to go their way for once or not. And I said it on the show, and I'll say it again. It's going to come down to a strip sack by Nick Bosa, knocking them out. Insert jokes about where he was on January 6th. And I think it's going to be a Niners victory. It's going to come down. They're going to get a late field goal, putting them up by 4. And the Chiefs are going to have to or they're going to score a late touchdown. Either way, they're going to have to score a touchdown to win. The Chiefs will. And they're going to have to move the ball. And they're going to get down. All those receivers are going to be like blanketed. And a Nick Bosa strip sack is going to end the game. So give me give me the 49ers.
It pains him so much.
31-27 final.
31-27. Okay, so he's going a little on the overside, quite a bit on the overside with that one. Kev, over to you. Who do you got winning Super Bowl 58?
I'm terrible at picking overs, unders, and spreads, so I'm not going to do that. But I do have the 49ers winning. I think the Chiefs are much worse on offense than they were last time these two met in the Super Bowl. They are improved on defense, but I think what this game is going to come down to is the 49ers no longer have a baby back bitch at quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is a prima donna. He thinks because he's hot, he is a good NFL quarterback when he is maybe serviceable at best. And I think Brock Purdy will be the deciding factor in this game just because he's not a bitch.
Yeah, Jimmy G. Everybody says all he does is win games. Look what happened to him when he went to the Raiders.
Yeah,
he's Jimmy G, as in he's made of glass. The G stands for glass, not Garoppolo.
I love the Patriots fan taking shots at Jimmy G too. It's great.
I'll take a lot of shots.
As a quarterback, so
he's not really injured. He's made of glass. No, he doesn't want to play if it doesn't feel 100%. Like he could be told, "Hey, it's a minor thing. You're not going to make it any worse, and you're at 95%. No, I'm too hurt to play.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not dissing you one bit for it. I totally agree. But no, I do think the Niners finally have a guy that they can rely on in the future. And like Brent brought up earlier, you're going to have to pay him going forward, regardless of how this game it turns out. He's been a phenomenal quarterback for you all season long. Really, the last 2 seasons since he's came in as that starting quarterback. So I think you really have to go with him. But Chet, going over to you, man. Who's your Super Bowl pick for the winner?
Oh, I think I agree with everybody here. Back and forth all week on who it's going to be. Can both teams just lose? Can we have one of those? I think I'm going to go Chiefs. As he's proved, you can't really bet against Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. He finds a way to get it done. Score-wise, 31-24 feels right on kind of like a final minute touchdown to none other than Kadarius Toney. They activated him. He's been the thorn in their side all season. He drops balls left and right, but I think he's going to prove himself, and he's going to catch the game-winning touchdown this game. Or he's going to drop it, and they're going to lose. So.
Yeah, so he's going to drop. That's what I was going to say. He's going to drop the game-winning touchdown to give the 49ers the victory.
Or he's going to line up off
murder him. They are going to go after him.
Or he'll line up off sides.
Yeah.
But the 31 comes from it's 13 backwards. So
he's gonna make the craziest. He's gonna make the craziest catch in the back of the end zone. Double tap his toes in and barely pull it in. They're gonna look at it and say, "Oh, we're gonna pull it back because he was offsides," and they end up losing the game from it. That'd be a terrible thing. No, I'm gonna bring up the same notion. I think just about everyone would probably agree with, and many of us have said so far. You just don't bet against the Chiefs. You don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. You don't bet against Andy Reid. And looking at this Chiefs defense, I think they are something special. And Coach Spags has got this defense in shape. He has done a phenomenal job this entire season long, and especially in the postseason, being able to do what he's done, going against Buffalo, who is giving them everything they had, being able to stand tall when it mattered the most, and then also rely on a little bit of a luck on a curved field goal missed to the right. But then jumping to the Ravens game where you hold them out to just a field goal in the second half, I think this Chiefs defense is strong enough. I've been really back and forth more on the points total. I've had a really hard time with that because I agree with all of your guys' points total so far, and I think everybody's picked the over. I'm going to pick the under just because I believe in these defenses, but it's really close for me. I think that line was set perfectly. So I might be like on just the other side of McCarthy's pick there. I might say 20-27, somewhere in there. Realistically, I think it's going to come down to like a field goal, maybe a 4-point game, somewhere right in there. So I'll say 20-27 just to keep myself on the underside of it, barely by a half a point. But yeah, I think the Chiefs end up coming out, and it's going to be official that they are on the way to their dynasty. Any guesses on who the Super Bowl MVP would be for either of the teams if they were to win?
I'm going to take anybody in the Niners defense if the Niners win. Or McCastrisk, either way.
I would think McCaffrey would have to be for the Niners because I just imagine he's going to be the guy that they puts them on their back.
Darius Toney,
Chiefs,
baby.
Darius Toney for the Chiefs. I like it. I think I commented on the corner booth the other night.
Well, you got that cup, man, because it ain't coffee.
No, I feel like over on the Chiefs, I'm kind of on the opposite side for you, there, Jared, because I feel like for the Chiefs, it would have to be a defensive player, just because I don't know that I don't think the offense is going to do enough to make it. Although Patrick Mahomes is probably going to get it.
Yeah, they're just going to give it to Mahomes if the Chiefs win. It does not matter if the final score is 7-3 and it's a rushing touchdown. They're going to talk about how Mahomes didn't turn the ball over and protected it and had a good completion percentage, and they're just going to give him the MVP.
Pretty much, yeah. I agree with that.
Any other guesses on who the MVP would be?
I see the storyline being Kelsey with the whole Swift stuff. If he has a good game, 2 touchdowns.
It's rigged if that's the case. I'm 100%
he drops to a knee
and he's going to say, "I'm going to Disneyland." They're going to get married at Disneyland.
There is
that's how the script goes, right? Right?
For him to propose, it's like plus 30,000. And I saw somebody say they could do that because only he would really know if he's going to do it or not. And then he could tell his brother to go put a bunch of money on him proposing, and then they could just win a ton of money. So,
yeah, that would be a pretty stupid bet to take.
Yeah, it's
like the guy about the streaking guy. like the streaking guy from the Super Bowl a couple years ago ran on the field in the onesie and like got nailed, and they found out he was the one who got down.
Yeah, is there going to be a streaker at this year's Super Bowl?
Oh yes,
Definitely.
Keep the
Has to
streak
You would
alive.
think Las Vegas guys
Yes.
are getting into it a little bit. You would think a little bit. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
Is he
absolutely.
painted with 13 on his chest?
As long as,
Yeah,
as
they'll be-
there's a radio call by Kevin Harlan to describe the events of what's happening on the field.
He's running around.
Good.
He's got Taylor Swift's name painted
My-
across his ass. He gets
My
back-
God, man, what are you doing?
He's
The
singing
eye is
Taylor
his
Swift
butt
as he's
crack.
running across. But guys, that's pretty much all we got for the Super Bowl show. I'm going to go around the horn. Everybody, give your show a shout out. Brent, we're going to start off with you. Where can we find your stuff?
The 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, 4 beer sports talking a whole lot more. Dave and I get together on Mondays and Thursdays where we're at your podcast, YouTube, and all the other stuff. But yeah, we put our own unique spin on the world of sports. We don't talk stats and all other stuff. We it's like you're sitting at your sports bar having a good old chat with the guys.
Yeah, it's a great show. Go check out 1420 and Brent over there. McCarthy and Dustin.
Yeah, check out our show, No Credentials Required, Tuesdays, and we're also doing some Saturday shows in between. So we did Saturday shows in January, and we're gonna try sprinkle in every other Saturday during the off season. But we're going to start to cover baseball this year, and we're going to hopefully dive into the Stanley Cup playoffs as well once it shows up. We're also doing some sports movie reviews too. So check us out. My Twitter handle I don't call it X, I call it Twitter still. It's at whoisRyanMCC. So if you want to fight or say hi on Twitter, that's my handle.
If you want to fight, I like that. Dustin, did he miss anything on shouting out your show?
No, he really didn't. So I'll just echo everything he said, and especially tune in for the summer episodes, the no ticket required, the sports
There
movie
you go.
reviews that we've been doing. They are fun shows. I am so happy that Ryan gives me a platform to make mistakes and run my mouth every Tuesday and Saturday. And follow me on Twitter at LDusto67. You want to find me on Instagram, same deal, at LDusto67. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jared, Corner Booth Guys, where we can find your stuff.
You can find me and those wild animals at the Corner Booth on all things Corner Booth Pod on everything, including X, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and as Chris always wants me to plug his OnlyFans. And that being said,
Is he eating horse manure on there?
subscribe.
and of course you can find me at all things Corner Booth Jared or Belly Up Jared because Elon won't let me change my Twitter handle. So there you go. That's where you can find me and all of our craziness.
Kev, where can we find your guys' stuff?
You can follow me at BellyUpKev on Twitter and then at Quad Tailgate, everything else for Tailgate in the Quad. We're on a bit of a hiatus right now because I'm still in the process of moving to a new apartment. So once that's done, we'll start recording again.
Absolutely. Go check out Kev and everything over there. And then we've got Chet and the Sports Scramble crew. Where can we find your guys' stuff?
Yeah, Sports Scramble Podcast, everywhere you get your podcasts, and on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button. We're actually hosting a live watch party tomorrow evening for the Super Bowl. Did one for the college football championship. It was a fun time. So come tune in and make sure you stay tuned in for college baseball. We got some stuff coming up for that.
Right on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to tune into their Super Bowl show so you guys can see all the crazy bets and the crazy parlays that they like to throw in there. My name is Josh. I'm over with Rising to the Occasion here on Belly Up Sports. You can find us on YouTube, Rising to the Occasion. You can find us on all social media platforms as well. If you just search Rising to the Occasion, everything that we have is on rising2.com. That's RISINGTO.com. Again, we thank everybody so much for tuning in, for watching, and for joining in with us here on this fine Saturday morning. Everybody enjoy your Super Bowl 58. We hope you guys party hard, not too hard, because remember, you might have to go into work the next day unless you happen to be smart enough to take it off. So just be responsible. And again, bet responsibly. Everybody enjoy your Super Bowl 58. Have a good one.